Hey fam, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications.
I am ashamed because I know what Mr. Trump is. He is a racist, he is a con man, and he is a cheat.
Oh man, riveting testimony all day today on Capitol Hill in D.C. is Michael Cohen, the longtime lawyer and fixer for Donald Trump, testified publicly. Here's what's crazy. Michael Cohen is the first person who Robert Mueller has actually interviewed as a major witness who has testified publicly about Donald Trump. It took place before the House Committee on Government Oversight and Reform, led by Congressman Elijah Cummings. I mean, it was unbelievable. On one hand, you had Democrats who were sitting here listening to Michael Cohen talk about Donald Trump and his lying and underhand dealings. And you had the Republicans who were trying to say, Michael Cohen's a liar. Well, so was Donald Trump. And what was crazy is, y'all, they couldn't even defend Donald Trump. They were just trying to say how Michael Cohen is just a straight-up liar. And so we got lots of video we want to show for you. But let's take a minute to listen to this close confidant of Donald Trump tell us what was really going on during the 2016 presidential campaign. And, of course, y'all know, I created the hashtag, we tried to tell you. We tried to tell you.
Over time, I saw his true character revealed. Mr. Trump is an enigma. He is complicated, as am I. He is both good and bad, as do we all. But the bad far outweighs the good. And since taking office, he has become the worst version of himself. He is capable of behaving kindly, but he is not kind. He is capable of committing acts of generosity, but he is not generous. He is capable of being loyal, but he is fundamentally disloyal. Donald Trump is a man who ran for office to make his brand great, not to make our country great. He had no desire or intention to lead this nation, only to market himself and to build his wealth and power. Mr. Trump would often say, this campaign was going to be the greatest infomercial in political history. He never expected to win the primary. He never expected to win the general election. The campaign, for him, was always a marketing opportunity.
And then, of course, we had to hear Michael Cohen talk about Trump being a bigot.
Mr. Trump is a racist. The country has seen Mr. Trump court white supremacists and bigots. You have heard him call poorer countries shitholes. In private, he is even worse. He once asked me if I could name a country run by a black person that wasn't a shithole. This was when Barack Obama was president of the United States. And while we were once driving through a struggling neighborhood in Chicago, he commented that only black people could live that way. And he told me that black people would never vote for him because they were too stupid. And yet, I continued to work for him.
Okay, then that was all kind of craziness happening in this hearing. But early on, one of the craziest things was seeing Congressman Mark Meadows of North Carolina try to prove Donald Trump wasn't a racist by bringing out a black prop. Britta Lawrence of Michigan, she was like, that's some bullshit.
I just want to put on the record as being a black American and having endured the public comments of racism from the sitting president, as being a black person, I can only imagine what's being said in private. And to prop up one member of our entire race of black people and say that that nullifies that is totally insulting. And in this environment of expecting a president to be inclusive and to look at his administration speaks volume.
Now, Delegate Stacey Plaskett of the U.S. Virgin Islands let's just say she had no issues letting Republicans know black folks not trying to hear this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a lot to do as well. I've got houses and schools to help rebuild in the Virgin Islands, expansion of voting rights, educational opportunities, criminal justice reform. Thank God the Democratic majority can walk and chew gum at the same time. So we're here with you right now. Mr. Cohen, you learned well in the 10 years that you worked with Donald Trump. What was your position with the GOP in the up to 8 months ago?
I was vice chair of the RNC Finance Committee.
You were vice chair of the finance of the Republican National Committee, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I do want to say I was a Democrat until Steve Wynn found out I was a Democrat and made me switch parties.
That would be a
Said it
smart
wasn't
thing
right
to
for a
do.
Democrat to be the vice chair.
Good. Let's get to it. I only have a little bit of time. On behalf of the many members here who have expressed to your family, our apologies to your family. But I want to apologize for the inappropriate comments and tweets that have been made by other members of this body. And as a former prosecutor and as former counsel on House ethics, I think that at the very least there should be a referral to the Ethics Committee of witness intimidation or tampering under USC 1512 of my colleague Matt Gaetz, and it may be possibly him being referred for a criminal prosecution. So I want to put that on the
Matt, your ass in trouble. The Florida bar is also investigating Matt Gaetz. He could have his law license in trouble. Nancy Pelosi, the House Speaker, she jammed him up, and he said, that's not really what I was trying to do, but I apologize. I deleted my tweet. Little late, player. Little late. Now, a new member of Congress, Ayanna Pressley, Massachusetts, she also had a couple things to ask. Roll it.
Would you agree that someone could deny rental units to African Americans, lead the birther movement, refer to the diaspora as shithole countries, and refer to white supremacists as fine people, have a black friend, and still be racist?
Yes.
I agree.
While my colleagues are trying to discredit your testimony by some of your own unlawful acts and lies, that they are disconnected with the fact that you were the personal lawyer for this president of the United States, that this president chose you as his legal counsel. My stance has always been the same, Mr. Chairman, based on the facts, not on future reports that we're all waiting on. My residents back home don't need a collusion cause with a foreign government to know this president, individual one, has disregarded the law of the land, the United States Constitution.
Okay, I need y'all to get ready, because you're about to see a crying white man. Press play.
Misused his pardon powers. Do you think the President of the United States is making decisions in the best interest of the American people?
No, I don't.
Especially those you said that he used horrible words about, like African Americans, Muslim Americans, and immigrants?
Yes.
Just to make a note, Mr. Chairman, just because someone has a person of color, a black person working for them, does not mean they aren't racist. And it is insensitive that some would even say it's the fact that someone would actually use a prop, a black woman, in this chamber, in this committee, is alone racist in itself. Donald Trump is setting a precedent.
Mr. Chairman, I ask that her words
Donald
be
Trump
taken
is setting
down.
a precedent. I reclaim my time.
Mr.
Donald
Chairman.
Trump is setting a precedent.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, my God. Let it roll.
Can be
Mr.
attained
Chairman, the
through
rules
legal
are clear.
activity. Cover up and hold on to business assets to break campaign finance laws and constitutional clauses. What we have here, Mr. Chairman, is criminal conduct in the pursuit of the highest public office by Mr. Cohen and Individual One. I hope that the gravity of this situation hits everyone in this body and in Congress and across this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield the rest of my time.
Mr. Chairman, I ask that her words, when she's referring to an individual member of this body, be taken down and stricken from the record. I'm sure she didn't intend to do this, but if anyone knows my record as it relates, it should be you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, I would like to...
You my black friend. Press play.
Go on.
I want the words read back.
No.
We want to know exactly what she
Excuse
said
me.
about a colleague.
Excuse me. Would you like to rephrase that statement, Ms. Tlaib?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can actually read it from here. Just to make a note, Mr. Chairman, that just because someone has a person of color, a black person working for them, does not mean they are racist. And it is insensitive that someone would even say racist, say it is racist in itself, and to use a black woman as a prop to prove it otherwise. And I can submit this for the record. If a colleague is thinking that that's what I'm saying, I'm just saying that's what I believe to have happened. And if, as a person of color in this committee, that's how I felt at that moment, and I wanted to express that. But I am not calling the gentleman, Mr. Meadows, a racist for doing so. I'm saying that in its...
But I think his ass racist. I think he like racist. Press play.
Itself, it is a racist act.
Well, I hope not, Mr. Chairman, because I need to be clear on this particular... Mr. Chairman...
Mr. Meadows, wait a minute.
I've defended you
Mr. Meadows,
with false accusations.
Mr. Meadows, I'm the chair.
I'm the HNIC. Back.
Where you are.
Thank you. I will clear this up. Now, Ms. Tlaib, I want to make sure I understand. You were not intending to call Mr. Meadows a racist, is that right?
No, Mr. Chairman, I do not call Mr. Meadows a racist. I am trying, as a person of color, Mr. Chairman, just to express myself and how I felt at that moment. And so, just for the record, that's what was my intention.
All right. Mr. Meadows.
Mr. Chairman, there's nothing more personal to me than my relationship. My nieces and nephews are people of color. Not many people know that. You know that, Mr. Chairman. And to indicate that I asked someone who is a personal friend of the Trump family, who has worked for him, who knows this particular individual, that she's coming in to be a prop, it's racist to suggest that I asked her to come in here for that reason. Mr. President, the president's own person, she's a family member. She loves this family. She came in because she felt like the president of the United States was getting falsely accused. And Mr. Chairman, you and I have a personal relationship that's not based on color. And
y'all press play.
And to even go down this direction is wrong, Mr. Chairman.
First of all, I want to thank the gentleman for what you have stated. If there's anyone who is sensitive with regard to race, it's me. Son of former sharecroppers that were basically slaves. So I get it. I listened very carefully to Ms. Tlaib, and I think, and I'm not going to put words in her mouth, but I think she said that she was not calling you a racist. And I thought that we could clarify that because Mr. Meadows, you know, and of all the people on this committee, I've said it and got in trouble for it, that you're one of my best friends. I know that shocks a lot of people.
Now what's this, the Green Book? This the Green Book now? This driving Mr. Meadows? Let's go to my panel. DeShondra Jefferson, principal, the Raven Group, Joe Madison, host Sirius XM Radio, Tiffany Lofton, civil and labor union organizer.
I am the national director of the Youth and College Division.
Damn it, I'm not done.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
Can you calm your ass down?
How you want me to calm down?
Why don't you go ahead and say, since you already just gave your damn title,
Camera number one.
like I couldn't give it. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Dina Lofton. I'm the national director for the Youth and College Division and longtime friend of Mr. Roland Martin, who's one of my mentors.
All right. I was talking with you, Joe.
Oh, my God.
I really get a kick out of offending white people.
I need a tissue.
Especially when they got nieces and nephews who are people of color.
You know, Malcolm X once said...
Is that where you're going to start?
Yeah, that's where I'm going to start. Let me start now.
I love it.
Okay, Malcolm X. And because folks need to understand history.
They do.
You know, first of all, Malcolm X once said, whenever a white person hears something that they don't want or don't like, first thing they do is go out and find some Negro to come in and counter what has been said.
Kind of cosign.
Yeah,
Right.
and so that's exactly what he did. I really felt sorry for the young lady who allowed herself to be used.
You mean Lynn Patton?
Lynn Patton as a prop. And you kind of look at her, and it was like she did kind of talk over to somebody, like, how do I get out of here?
Right, like, can I sit down?
Am I done? Can I sit down?
Can I sit down? Can I sit down now?
Well, first of all, Joe, I've never seen that. I have never
no one has ever seen
a
it.
member of Congress
Bring
somebody
a human prop.
on the rostrum.
A human prop.
I mean,
Black
I've
friends.
seen
They've been
them
in
point out in the audience,
yes.
but I've never seen that, Deshaun. I've never seen that.
No. Yeah, let's just call it. I mean, first of all, let's just understand what this was. It's the same as saying I have black friends. Black folk have worked for white folk who they've known have races and have attitudes. Look, black folks work for slave owners. I mean, this is not new. I mean, we've always had jobs where we've been treated
Raise their kids
in the worst way. That's absolutely right. This was pitiful. I mean, quite honestly, and I know you're getting there, and I'll just close out. All this was an attempt to kill the messenger. They didn't address any issue that dealt with Donald Trump. Donald Trump has a pattern of racism that goes back to putting C's on apartment applications.
Deshandra,
and he just has a long record.
Here's what stood out to me the most. They're trying to take out a dude by saying you a liar, but he was the one defending a liar.
Exactly.
And not one time could they sit there and actually defend Donald Trump, because they know they can't defend a liar.
Well, no, they can't defend him, and that was the entire point of his line of questioning, is to deflect from himself and to deflect from the liar president that we have up there. And honestly, I was offended. All of us were offended by Lynn Patton being trotted up, held up as a prop. But the thing is, honestly, Roland, I don't think she was offended or embarrassed.
Oh, she's not. She's not. Oh, no. Lynn Patton is cool with it. She's been, that's her thing as, hey, look, remember, Lynn Patton was a party planner.
Yes.
Who all of a sudden now is a high-ranking executive in HUD. And then it was a trip. So she's moved into New York public housing for like a week to highlight the inequities in the public housing. But then she sent notice that, well, I got to leave because I got official business in D.C.
That was
it?
Yeah, no.
That was your official business? To come there and look like a lawn jockey? Stay next to Mark Meadows? Tiffany, that was a joke. That was a joke.
Let me say two things as a precursor. One, I will forever watch hearing meetings from now on with you. That's one. One. Two, I think that it is a shameful day in American politics and history and in democracy, really, when we have to sit here and watch white people and black people in Congress debate whether or not one of them is racist, and then point the finger at Cohen and say that he's a racist, and then point the finger at Donald Trump and say he's a racist. I heard a lot of the testimony today during a meeting I was in. They called Donald Trump a racist, a bigot, a con man, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But to my community and my people, we already knew this.
Hashtag we tried to tell you.
We tried to tell you before the campaign trail, during the campaign trail, and then after he was elected. So this was a mockery of an attempt to talk about the moral values and positions of Donald Trump, y'all's president, and instead of us getting to the root of the cause, which was focusing on Donald Trump paid this man $35,000 in a check as hush money. He talked crap about his son.
Paid it while he was in the Oval Office.
While he was president.
He committed a crime.
While he was president, he committed a crime. He also told Cohen, listen, send a threat to everybody. I don't want my grades from school being released. I don't want my SAT scores being released. I don't want nobody to know that
But
I'm
he
an
called
idiot.
for Obama's records. I'm just saying.
And birth certificate, and the list goes on.
That's what bullies do.
That's what bullies do.
That's what bullies
also what
do.
bigots do. That's also what con men do. That's also what racist people do.
But the thing here is, and this is what was truly laughable to me, and when Representative Plaskett said, yeah, we can walk and chew gum at the same time.
That was funny. That was hilarious.
And the fact that they refuse to deal with the reality that you have an undeniable liar who is in the Oval Office,
who has committed crimes.
Who said, oh no, I turned over my business to my sons. But here you got the man's lawyer saying, no, he's still writing Trump organization checks in the White House. He laid out a series of things about saying, I can't get into that because it's actually under investigation. And the Republicans know they cannot defend it. And so we do know Michael Cohen lied, but here's what also I thought was hilarious. I've covered trials. I've watched trials. How many times have y'all seen a mobster testify against another mobster? And you can say, you a killer. Yes, I am. But he told me to kill. Yeah. And that's what it sounded. This reminded me literally of the testimony, Joe, in the 60s of mobsters who, Cosa Nostra was called out, and they were all called through. That's what it sounded like.
I totally agree with you. And keep in mind, he's not on trial.
He's not.
He's already, I'm talking about Cohen.
Yeah.
And that's how the Republicans approach this, that as if he's on trial. He is not on trial. I'm a little subdued because I had to take a nap. I just got tired of, and maybe as I'm showing my age, I just got tired of hearing the same thing from every Republican. And we can say what we want to, but I'll give them credit. Boy, they can stick to a script like a Broadway play.
Especially, Chandra,
you ain't got nothing else.
You got a book deal? You gonna do a book deal? I love this one. Will you say under oath that you will not sign a book deal? And he's like,
he said no.
I just told y'all yesterday I lost my law license. Hell no, I ain't gonna tell you. I ain't gonna sign a book. I mean, it was like they were stuck on a book deal.
Yes, they were.
They were stuck on a television show.
They're stuck on stupid.
Yeah, they're stuck on stupid. That's
Stuck
what
on stupid. No, they have to keep distracting from the real issues because they have nothing else.
Nothing else.
I will give Cohen credit when they asked him, well, what does that make you? And he said, a fool. I mean, he knows. Listen,
we all know he's a liar.
Everybody plays a fool.
But and I'm going to do this tomorrow morning on my show, and I know you got Derek on from NAACP.
And he's up next.
Well, Derek, you ought to give Cohen an award. The NAACP ought to give. No, listen. Understand my sarcasm.
Go ahead.
They ought to give him an award because what Cohen did was what a lot of people don't obviously see. He brought us inside.
That's right.
Yeah.
The operation. He brought us inside those private conversations.
That's right.
That you don't have. That you don't have a tape. Why would Cohen have a tape when he's probably used the N-word 100 times himself and wouldn't have a problem admitting? That's what I mean sarcastically, that he brought all of us inside these conversations that take place in back rooms, take place at poker tables, take place in bars, and he has exposed Trump for what he is. But the reality is,
Trump has exposed himself.
We knew what he was from the
get-go. I was going to say, you're
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Trump has exposed himself. When he came out and announced his run, for the presidency,
the birther thing.
Before that was the birther thing, but when he's calling, Mexican immigrants,
right.
Criminals, racists, drug dealers, we've seen this language from him, and I'm tired of people pretending like none of this existed.
Remember the judge in Indiana.
I want to be very, very clear that this is super important because this man, Donald Trump, plans on running for re-election. And if we're going to talk about not just his personality, which we all know is out of this world and effed up, but his actual crimes that he has committed while he is president that we need to take seriously, which my auntie Maxine Waters has been saying he needs to be impeached for a very long time, that the way this testimony plays out and what we don't hear, because yesterday there was a private testimony that we didn't get a chance to see, and tomorrow we're not going to see the testimony that Michael Cohen's going to do again, that all of this is, even though it's not a trial, should be taken seriously in consideration, not only with trying the president for the crimes that he's done, but not re-electing somebody who does not deserve to be in office in the first place.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just 1 moment. All right, folks, calling all HBCU alumni, students, and leaders. Enter the Ford Motor Company HBCU Mobility Challenge and win $25,000 for your school. Building on their long-term support of HBCUs, Ford is looking to improve mobility in HBCU communities through innovative solutions. The winning program will receive a grant of up to $25,000 to implement their proposal. The deadline to apply is March 31st, 2019. Go to FGB.Life for more information and to apply. Remember, Ford goes further in our communities. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.